Thank you. I started visiting Riga in about 20 years ago, and I've been here 3 times in the last 6 months. I was feeling quite good about that until Ambassador Matlock mentioned that he'd been here the first time in 1962. So I certainly don't have the perspective that others do. But on our topic, I think that it's important, as been discussed as far as a format going forward, to think about the challenge that lays ahead, the importance of it, and the required professionalism. The challenge, it seems, is clear that when we're in such a lovely room as this, and everyone is on their best behavior, we tend to get into platitudes and want to talk about things that are possible rather than the challenge ahead. And obviously, President Bush, in wanting to get off to a good start in his relationship with President Putin, looked into his eyes. And President Obama, being naive about the challenges ahead, thought that the things that divide us and separate the U.S. from the West, or in this case, the U.S. from Russia, could be solved with a simple reset button. So I think that it's important, obviously, from a U.S. perspective, to deal with the Russia that exists, not the Russia we wish existed, and likewise for Moscow. But it's important that we do this, that we work through these issues, that we are real about them, so platitudes don't turn into misunderstandings and frustrations. And as we look about this, job I had in the State Department was to deal with the day-to-day responsibilities for Russia. And this was at a point in time when it was the war between Russia and Georgia, and Russia was working to get the U.S. out of our base in Manas in the Kyrgyz Republic that we were using to work on Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan. But I knew that even with these frustrations in the relationship, that Russia, from a U.S. perspective, from a Western perspective, Russia was too important to simply sever the relationship, that you couldn't simply walk away, that a messy divorce is not an end of a troublesome marriage, but the beginning of a fight over the money and the kids and the friends and the common home. So it is worth working through, and it takes some very, very serious people. We've been talking a bit about Zbigniew Brzezinski, and I've had the opportunity over a number of years of getting advice from him and having meetings with him, mainly dealing with Russia or Central Asia or the Caucasus. And when I lived in Russia in the mid-90s, a Russian politician at the time, General Alexander Lebed, went to Washington. And when he returned to Moscow, I asked him who he was most impressed with. He'd met with a number of senators, he'd met with a former vice president, he'd met with journalists, he'd met with other people. And he said that the person he was most impressed with was Zbigniew Brzezinski, which caught me by surprise. And I said, well, a lot of Russians think of him as, at the time, anti-Russian. And he said, no, he's a professional, he's a strategist. So if what you're suggesting in this endeavor moving forward is real professionals from the West, real professionals from Russia, sitting down and understanding the challenges that are ahead, the importance of the relationship, and can speak to each other in a very professional tone, I think that it's a very worthwhile exercise.